Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the cottage kitchen at the Elliott homestead. Today, we're going to make something really beautiful and cozy for wintertime cooking and some really beautiful cast ironware. And then we're going to go down to the root cellar. I want to show you what the root cellar looks like for us this time of year. It looks a little bit different than in years past, but as it goes, food is ever evolving. The way we grow our food here on the farm is ever evolving. So if you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and check out the links below the video because there's all kinds of resources like our free newsletter and links to our cooking community below the video. But to give you a sense of what I'm talking about, I'm standing here in my kitchen, and underneath my kitchen is the exact blueprint in a root cellar. Now, this was just by pure providence that we landed in a house that happened to have a root cellar already built in. It's very raw. It's dirt floors and concrete walls. It's dirty, and there might be some spiders down there, but still, it's a huge resource for us. Because we grow so much of our food here on the farm, we rely on our root cellar all the time, every day, to help us store our food. Now, I know obviously a lot of houses aren't built with root cellars anymore, but still it's a great thing to kind of learn to understand, especially if you're interested in food storage. And you might be able to mark out a little piece of your garage or a little outside shed, or even build a root cellar of your own. So let's go take a look and gather some of our ingredients for our scalloped potatoes. Before we do that, I want to thank Maiden for sponsoring today's video. I have stocked my kitchen with Maiden products for a reason. They partner with the best raw material providers and multi-generational family-owned manufacturers in the US, France, UK, and Italy. They genuinely build superior kitchen products. So I'm going to be using their cast iron today. This is used in Michelin star restaurants around the world, and this cast iron alone has over 10,000 five-star reviews. I'm going to be using this cast iron collection from Maiden to make our dish together today, and I want you to see this. This is made in Northwest France, and this is all enameled by hand. I've had this cast iron in my kitchen for over a year, and look how good it still looks. Like you're going to see in today's video, we're going to take it right from the stovetop to the oven, and this is oven safe up to 580 degrees. This would make such a wonderful Christmas gift for somebody in your life who loves to cook. I'm going to put a link below the video. You can get 10% off your first purchase with Maiden of $100 or more. All right, let's go down to the root cellar. Okay, welcome to my root cellar. I cleaned it up just for you. I tried to keep it under wraps, but you know, sometimes it gets a little dicey down here and it could always use a dusting. But this is all that we have put up this year, and I'm really proud of it. We really wanted to prioritize tomatoes this year, which I think we did a pretty good job of. And underneath all of our jarred tomatoes lives all different assortments of jams and jellies and relishes, and it's a good little stash to have. Now, over to the other side of all of our canned goods live some of our root crops. Because this is not heated, it's not air conditioned, it takes on the ambient temperature that's outside, which makes my kitchen pretty cold, but it means that my root vegetables store really well here just at room temperature. So I keep these plastic crates for really good circulation, and I have one of my storage potatoes, sweet potatoes, onions, garlic, and then I keep, look at this. Even this is amazing. These are eggplants that I pulled off of my plants the end of August, maybe the middle of September, and they're still in great shape. I mean, they don't look super fresh, but they're still very edible. So I've got my last of the summer eggplants down here, even in the middle of December, some persimmons that are still ripening from the persimmon tree, and then some bulk citrus that we bring in that we really love. So you can see this is where I also keep my stashes of pasta and all of my extra flowers. My big bulk flowers, actually you'll see some of them behind me because I just made my annual purchase of the flour, but I keep them in these big plastic totes, and that does a really good job of keeping moisture out of the flour and keeping any sort of critters out of the flour as well. And then I just label them so I can come down here, scoop up whatever kind of flour I need. I keep whole grain flours, bread flours, all-purpose flours, Durham semolina flours, obviously einkorn flours. So I might have a bit of a baking problem. But today we're going to focus on gathering up some of our produce. So let me show you what that looks like months after coming out of the ground. Okay, so whenever I'm cooking something, I come down to the root cellar and I bring this little basket because I can set it in my kitchen sink and wash off the produce, because when potatoes come out of the garden and go into storage, they're very dirty, which means inevitably you're going to get dirty. But I'm still really happy with how the potatoes look. So these came out about 2 months ago, and so far we have no sprouts, which is wonderful, and also one of the reasons that we make sure we plant storage varieties, because they'll last a lot longer in storage. So I have some big, fat, beautiful potatoes here, which is what I'm on the hunt for. I'm going to look for about 3 pounds here. And not only that, but we're going to go in for some of our storage onions as well. Again, they look pretty dang good. These came out of the garden, gosh, I want to say at the end of July, so they've already been in storage for quite a while. And it just goes to show you, when you grow storage varieties, look how well they hold over. Look at that. It still looks great. So I'm going to add in 2 onions to my scalloped potatoes today. Now, honestly, gardening and putting up your own food is so much work. I would highly recommend it for quality of life, but it's a lot of hard work. But when you get to come down to the root cellar like this and fill the basket with all this produce, you know the blood and sweat and tears that went into it. You knew it from its birth to its end. You knew the entire cycle of its life. There's something that's so fulfilling and special about it. Last up is some garlic. So again, I think these came out of the ground. I want one with big fat cloves here. I believe at the end of June, maybe early July. And it still looks really beautiful. So we're essentially just shopping our own pantry. Now, this is all I need for the scalloped potatoes besides some butter. So let's go into the cold room. Buying in bulk can really save a lot of money. So as much as we do here on our farm, there's still a ton of food that we don't grow, like hazelnuts, for example. I've planted some hazelnut bushes and I've harvested one. So we bring in polenta and hazelnuts, as you can see here. Tallow and lard live in the bin behind me. There's a lot going on here, and it's a really wonderful space, especially when it's clean. But over to the right, you can see all of the things that we have grown here on our farm. So this is a variety of preserved tomatoes, some sun-dried, some oil-packed. We have all varieties of kimchi and sauerkraut lined up on the shelf, along with pickles and pickled peppers, homemade salsas, jardinera, hot sauce, all kinds of wonderful things. And what I've learned is that when they're at eye level and when they look really appetizing, that's when people are inclined to come down here and fill their basket with these sorts of things. The kids love it, and it's really colorful and beautiful, but for me as the gardener, it just represents all of that work, and we can have it all here on our shelves, easy for the taking. I'll come get some of that when it's actually dinner time, but for now, I'm on the hunt for butter. All right, the potatoes are nice and washed. We have some really humble, simple ingredients, which you know are my favorite kind. So I've got my cast iron over there with a knob of butter melting down. We're gonna take the time to saute the onions before we layer them in with our scalloped potatoes. Because it makes them better, it develops their flavor and develops their sweetness, and ultimately that's what we want. Now, I've prepped all my vegetables here. I have my potatoes that are just ready to be sliced. I don't bother peeling potatoes for my scalloped potatoes because I like them with the skin on them. To me, it makes it feel very homegrown and very homemade, and you know I love that. I'm gonna actually bring in some help though, because I badly burnt my hand earlier this week. So Stu is going to be my sous chef today. Making homemade scalloped potatoes is not only rewarding, but it's really, really delicious. And I'm going to be building it up, layering it up with onions and a really creamy, wonderful milk-based sauce into a round Dutch oven. Now let me tell you why I love this. If you've ever made a scalloped potatoes in like a 9x13 pan, they tend to boil, right? The potatoes have to cook. And so oftentimes they bubble over. They cause all kinds of smoke in the oven. I've done that more times than I can count. So having nice deep sides can be really helpful on your baking dish. What I like about this is that it cleans up really easy too. And because it's a round shape, there's no corners, which just makes it that much easier to clean. Okay, all the hard work is done, not the least of which was growing all this beautiful food in the first place, but the onions have started to just slightly caramelize, which means they're nice and soft and sweet. So we're gonna make our sauce right in that same pan, and we're gonna do that by adding in just a little bit of flour. Flour is your thickening agent. That's what makes your sauce nice and creamy. So just about a 1/4 cup, directly right in. That was maybe a little bit more, but that's okay. And I'm gonna take the time to actually just cook this a little bit, coat my onions, and that'll keep my flour from clumping because it'll kind of cook down with that leftover butter that's in there. You can see I snuck a couple of bay leaves in here too. And I'm also gonna sneak in some garlic. Now you can see already the flour's cooked and it's thick. It's coated those onions, which is perfect. So I have 1.5 cups of cream here, and then I'm gonna add another about 1 cup of milk. This was frozen, that's why it looks like that. Still has some little ice pieces in it. Now, the last liquid I'm gonna add is about 1 cup of homemade chicken stock. Well, this is actually a chicken and lamb stock, but this is just gonna give our potatoes a little bit more liquid to cook in. Now, one of the perks of cooking this in a Dutch oven is that you can put the lid on, which holds the steam inside, and it'll cook your potatoes a lot faster. And then you can just take it off and brown the top if you'd like. This already smells so good. What I love about dishes like this is that you really do front load the work. So this is gonna tuck into the oven for about 45 minutes, maybe closer to an hour, depending on how many potatoes you use. And so I'm gonna tuck this away. I'm gonna go do something else and forget about all my effort and then come in and be rewarded with delicious food. So we're gonna layer now. I've buttered my Dutch oven, so it's ready to go. And we're gonna start with a layer of potatoes, and we're literally just gonna build up a beautiful little creamy, salty potato pie. Maybe 3 or 4 layers. So we'll call that 1. Good bit of salt. We haven't added any salt at this point. Pepper. Now, one of the ingredients that maybe is not quite historical, but I love it in my scalloped potatoes, is nutmeg. Just a little bit. Now we're going to scoop up some of our onion cream. Okay, and repeat. Stick those bay leaves in there too. They have some more flavor to give. And you know, if you get a bay leaf in your dish, it means that the cook loves you. I heard that somewhere and I tell my kids and now they fight over them, of course. Smells so good. It's just solid comfort food. If you're not going to be cooking yours in a Dutch oven with a lid, you might want to add a little bit more broth just to make sure that the potatoes have enough liquid to cook, but it's going to cook until those potatoes are really soft and fork tender. In she goes. This smells so good. I cooked it until the potatoes were tender, took the lid off and broiled it just for a few minutes. And now I'm gonna put just a few little thyme leaves over the top. This is some thyme I harvested out of the garden just before it froze. A dish like this, it feels greater than the sum of its parts because what we have here is something beautiful for dinner, and what we have beyond that is not only the food we grew, the food we stored, but now the food we've cooked. I hope you enjoy.